when you turn your camera on, your LCD screen, if you've got a point and shoot camera or hybrid camera, comes on. Not necessarily the case for the digital SLR cameras. Some of them do, some of them don't. They function differently on a digital SLR than they do a point and shoot. But normally when you turn on these smaller cameras, this liquid crystal display screen comes on so that you can start focusing in on your subject, or you can start changing the scenes or the scene selections that we're going to talk about here pretty soon. So what we're going to talk about coming up here is we're going to talk about two parts on your camera. Now, some of you may have the parts are virtual or inside of the LCD screen, and some of you may see the physical components that I'm talking about. So bear with me here in a second. But these two pieces, the cross key and the mode dial, work in synchronicity with each other. So it's really hard for me to tell you about one part without the other part, but I'm going to try to anyhow. So we're going to talk about these two components and sort of how they work together, the cross keys and the mode dials, but we're going to break them down into sections. So what we're going to start with is talking about the cross keys and the different functions, but I do want to point out to you that when we start talking about some of these advanced functions or some of these presets, you're going to have to make sure that if you have a mode dial or that slider, that your camera is out of the auto settings. Whatever, if it says automatic on your camera, or it's a little green box, or it looks like a little camera, that is your auto setting. Now, some of you may also have this thing that says P, which stands for program mode. And I'll talk more about program mode here in a little bit, but that's also an automatic setting. So when we talk about these settings, if these settings, these icons that I talk about, are not on your mode dial, you do need to move your mode dial out of the auto settings into some of these other settings to see what I'm talking about inside the LCD screen. Now, I know that sounds as clear as mud, but stick with me for a couple more minutes and hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense. Just keep looking at your camera.